Welcome back to another installment of Out of the Park and Into the End Zone. It is beautiful Wednesday night, Wednesday morning, technically. I was planning to do this on Tuesday, but I'm still tinkering around with a few ideas of when to record, when to upload, that kind of thing. So right now we're trying at night, when I usually wake up. Now, as you probably saw by today's title, we are going to be talking about my favorite team, the 49ers. And though I did not mention it before, but yes, it is pretty apparent by my channel logo. Um, I'm a Niners fan. I'm a Giants fan. Warriors for basketball. Just the Bay Area in general. It may be a little weird that my first video wasn't related to any of my teams. It was kind of related just to a trade and between two AFC teams, but I felt like it was important enough to discuss. But I have my coffee. It's kind of going to be a longer video. Because we are going to be discussing every transaction that's taken place pretty much since March 8th, whether it's signings, free agency, restructuring of the contracts, even a trade. Though that's not all because uh, I'm going to have to take a moment during this to pay homage to a wonderful, wonderful player that unfortunately we had to let go. And we will finish today with an awesome story that I found. But our most recent, it was the most recent free agent acquisition as of when I wrote everything down, which was March 26th. So let's go ahead. Now, the first move that I want to talk about was on March 8th. It was the re signing of tackle Colton McKivitz. He was given a 1 year, $7 million deal and just a re signing. Colton had been with the 49ers the last 4 seasons, but last year he played all 17 regular season games. He played all 3 postseason games. Um, he was he was solid. He was really, really solid. I think it's going to be nothing but a good benefit to have a guy like that to continue to play opposite Trent Williams when he only commits 2 penalties all season. And even if they decide to go back into, even if they decide in the draft this year to go in and grab a tackle, I think it makes sense. But I think you can go either way, whether you want to grab a tackle in the higher up rounds or if you want to wait and maybe get a later round guy. You can have Colton as depth if you get a really high end tackle. You can kind of shift him around the offensive line. I think it's just good all around. It's a great signing. Um, 2 more re-signings came on March 10th with Kyle Allen, who was here last year as the third stringer. Now with Sam Darnold gone to Minnesota, Kyle Allen is going to be able to compete for the backup job behind Purdy. And the other big signing, or the other signing on that day, was Ben Barch, who was signed for a 1 year deal for $1.125 million. The interior offensive line is pretty much the weakest part of the 49ers. It's like interior offensive line, secondary, that's not Tawalo Hufanga. Those are pretty much our biggest weaknesses. Maybe you could say more so now because we lost some players. But those are the 2 big weaknesses of the 49ers. But bringing back Barch only makes sense as he only played 5 games for us as we acquired him from the Jaguars last year. But in his 13 games playing for the Niners and the Jags last year, he didn't commit a single penalty. So I'm more than happy to take him and bring him back for another year. Again, it's just depth, if anything else. Once we hit March 11th is when the free agency signings actually began for the 49ers as they grabbed edge rushers Leonard Floyd and Yetur Gross-Matos. Both of those guys grabbing him on 2 years deals. Leonard Floyd was taken from the Bills for $20 million, not per year, but total, so 2 year $20 million deal. And Yetur Gross-Matos was a 2 year $18 million deal. So both guys are getting about $10 million or less on our annual value. They're both true edge rushers who were brought in to fill in the losses of Cleveland Farrell, Randy Gregory, Chase Young, who obviously we're probably not re-grabbing those guys, but just trying to bring in as many guys as possible to try to match. It's crazy how many guys that the 49ers have to bring in to match the production of Nick Bosa. It's kind of crazy. It's it's like unreal almost. There is a glaring issue though with these two signings, as pretty much at this time Eric Armstead was rumored to be released or rumored that something was going to happen. So everybody that we had brought in or was still on the roster was super pass oriented. So Leonard Floyd only played half the snaps last year because he's only a pass rusher. Yetur Gross-Matos played about 64% of the snaps because he was just a pass rusher. And Javon Hargrave, a guy that we already have on the 49ers, but he's a pass rusher. We had, sorry, we didn't have a single person left to stop the run besides Nick Bosa. And during the final 7 games of the season, including the playoffs, the 49ers have been allowing 136 yards per game for rushing, including a 234 rushing yard game by Arizona in Week 15. I don't know if you remember that. James Conner just ran for 200 yards inexplicably. It was starting to look like John Lynch was going to go all in on the pass rush, which you could argue is fair. I mean, you could always grab guys in the draft, but there was some real questions about what we were going to do with our run defense. Though on a brighter note, the very next day, no. On a brighter note of the same day, they also gave out a tender. They assigned a 1-year tender to third and Jawan Jennings to bring him back. And they also messed with Fred Warner's contract a little bit, where they took $14 million of his 2024 salary, converting it to signing bonus to basically clear up cap. They cleared up about like $10.5 million in cap room. Coffee. But the next day, on the 12th, our run defense got a huge boost as they went out and grabbed defensive tackle Jordan Elliott from the Cleveland Browns on a 2-year, $7 million deal. Now, I didn't know much about this guy coming into this, but once I started to look into it a little more, he is a big body, 6'4", 300 pounds, out of Mizzou, who, according to ESPN's Nick Wagoner, I'm assuming Wagoner, Wagner, if I get that wrong, I'm sorry. Jordan Elliott was 12th in the NFL in run stop with a 40% win percentage against the run. So that is exactly what we needed, because you're trying to now replace the production of Eric Armstead, is what was being rumored at the time, because he was going to be released. This is exactly the kind of thing that the Niners needed. And they were also able to re-sign George Odom to a 2-year, $7.5 million deal. We're probably not bringing back Tayshaun Gibson. He's probably going to go somewhere else. But all of the happiness and excitement of free agency came to a screeching halt on March 13th. It was made official that Eric Armstead, the longest tenured 49er who had been with the franchise for 9 seasons, was officially designated for a post-June 1st release. Essentially just saying they're letting him go. I want to take a moment to pause, kind of right here, and reflect on how much of a gift Eric Armstead has been for the 49ers. Not just his outstanding ability on the field, but for his character. His constant effort to give back to the community around him, which garnered him 4 consecutive nominations for the 49ers representative for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. 4 in a row. It's it's funny I mentioned this. It's almost a little funny as after the first Super Bowl loss to the Chiefs, the 49ers traded away DeForest Buckner. And now after the second loss to the Chiefs, we are moving away from Eric Armstead. The reason it's a little funny is because the two of them played together in Oregon. They both played together on the 49ers, obviously. They're both just they're just massive specimens. They don't make 6'7" Oregon defensive tackles like they used to. It's just not how it works. And now, as for Eric, according to Ian Rappaport, he's gone on to sign a 3-year, $51 million contract with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I hope that they take good care of him and that he succeeds in his new home. So I just want to say thank you, Eric. On a lighter note, later on during the day, things got much better as far as the news as the 49ers signed Kevin Givens, who had been with the 49ers since 2019. They brought him back in another year-long deal. Also, the 49ers made a kind of surprising move, which was they traded for Malik Collins from the Houston Texans for just a 7th-round pick. Now, he's a good defensive tackle as well. He's coming off a 5-sack season, I believe, something like 11 pressures from the middle, which is really good, but it was probably helpful that D'Amico Ryans is the coach of the Texans right now. They probably got Kyle and John probably got a nice deal for that guy. Whereas maybe another organization might have got him for a 5th. We probably got him for a 7th. So that's nice. And lastly, on that day, the 49ers were able to restructure the contract of Kyle Juszczyk to free up some more cap space. But after such a long and eventful day, it only made sense that March 14th was going to be a much quieter day. Though they were still able to grab linebacker Demetrius Flanagan Fowles, I'm so sorry, on a 1-year deal. Demetrius has been on the 49ers since 2020, so he's going to be a welcome return back with kind of a beaten and battered linebacking core. They also went ahead and did the same thing they did with Fred Warner. They converted about $7 million of Javon Hargrave's 2024 salary into signing bonus, which cleared up about $6 million in cap space. But things ultimately ramped up again in March 15th with a huge slew of signings. The first one being John Feliciano, brought back again on a 1-year deal. Again, interior offensive line. We need all the help we can get. He was here last year, and I remember him being around. So it'll be nice to just have returning faces to kind of gel that interior offensive line. Just like with Barge, those guys can continue to grow together as teammates. But next we have the addition of Devondre Campbell, an 8-year veteran in the NFL who was most recently playing for the Packers for the last 3 years. He was given a 1-year, $5 million deal to come in. Oh, sorry, something fell. He came in to come help with the gaping absence of Dre Greenlaw after his injury during the Super Bowl, which just broke my heart. Oh my God, when that play happened, I almost teared. Dre's one of my favorites. It was so sad seeing that on a non-contact football play, just on the sideline getting onto the field. It was so sad. So Devondre Campbell is definitely welcome as well. The 49ers then turned their attention towards the cornerbacking room by bringing in 2 guys, Isaac Yiadom, Yiadom, sorry, I don't know how to say it, who was with New Orleans. And they also brought in Chase Lucas from the Detroit Lions. Both guys are coming on 1-year deals, with Isaac getting a $1.9 million and Lucas getting $985,000. I should mention as well that throughout all of these signings and all these numbers with the restructuring and stuff like that, I've been getting my numbers from Spottrack.com, but I couldn't find a number for Chase Lucas's deal, but I did find the $985,000 from another site called overthecap.com. So take that as you will. It could be accurate, it could not be accurate. I'm not 100% sure. Finally, at the end of the day, we had George Kittle taking $12 million of his 2024 salary and turning that into signing bonus. So these guys are definitely helping out with the salary cap, trying to make things easier for John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. It freed up about $10 million more dollars, but they also added in a void year onto the end of Kittle's contract. And a void year is just something that's used to increase the number of years on a deal so that it lowers the annual value that you're going to have to pay out. So instead of paying like $4 million per year for a player, if you continue adding void years, you can lower that to like $2 million or push the number back to a different year or things like that. You can do a number of different things with that. But whew, that was a whole bunch of stuff that happened going on. But then things got quiet, back down again on March 16th with only one new face joining the roster, and that's going to be wide receiver Chris Conley, who's coming in to try to win a ring on a 1-year, $1.5 million deal. But 2 days after that, on the date of the 18th, I am so excited because they brought in the Pastronaut, quarterback Joshua Dobbs, rocket scientist, genius, alien. He's going to come in and compete against Joshua Dobbs. He's going to come in and compete against Kyle Allen for the backup job. I'm kind of giddy that the fact that we have Joshua Dobbs on his team. It's so funny. He's going to be making $2.25 million on a 1-year deal. But the other signing that came on this day as well was for tackle Brandon Parker, who's going to be making $1.125 million. This is another deal that I had to find on overthecap.com, so take that as you will for the exact number. But another tackle is always welcome. Just bringing in guys on the offensive line is all I can ask for. Finally, after that, it was 3 days until we got the final free agency signing to this point, and this is by far my absolute favorite. Not because he's some big electric player or a huge name or a crazy superstar, but just because I love the story of this guy. On March 21st, the 49ers signed, it's either Ezekiel or Zeke. I couldn't tell because a bunch of different websites had different answers. But I'll go with the one I saw most, which was Zeke Turner. He signed for a 1-year, $1.125 million contract. And I just absolutely fell into a rabbit hole discovering more about this guy. So he played at the University of Missouri as a defensive back. His very first game, I believe, was against Stanford, where he had like 7 tackles. He went on to play 3 years at the university as a defensive back. Went undrafted in 2018. Was signed by the Cardinals on a 3-year deal to play safety. His very first season, he was named to the Pro Football Writers of America's All-Pro rookie team as a special teamer, so that's awesome for him. Even during that initial contract run, in the season opener of 2020, he blocked a punt from Mitch Wishnowsky, who is very much still the active punter of the 49ers. So maybe they'll have a good laugh about that when they meet up in camp, because I'm sure he's going to continue to be a special teamer. But after Turner's initial 3 years and I guess some injury history, he's been playing on 1-year deals with Arizona for like the last 3 years. In 2022, his safety season was not so good. So what ended up happening is that they converted him to linebacker in 2023, and he played the entire 23 season, maybe missing like 2 games as a linebacker. Now he's here in San Francisco to give flexibility, whether they want to play him as a defensive back or as a linebacker, wherever they need the most depth. And he's bringing in 6 years of NFL experience. But that's all the moves as of right now that I could find. I personally enjoyed every detail that I discovered about a guy like Zeke Turner. It gives me so much life to read and learn about these players, and it reminds us that they're more than just like pieces that you just grab and buy and acquire and stuff like that. But they're people with their own stories and their own triumphs through adversity. Um, Overall, the entire free agency period, it was mainly filling out some depth pieces, pushing some money around, restructuring some deals for our big time guys, and taking some flyers on a couple guys that could really explode for the 49ers. Personally, if I had to grade the 49ers offseason, I'd give it like a B, B plus, as I think every move was solid. Every move made sense. And just bringing in guys to come in and produce in their own roles. The loss of Eric Armstead, though, not just as a presence on the field plugging the running lanes, but as a locker room leader with nearly a decade of experience to mentor and mold guys, while also losing a community leader, it's going to have the same kind of effect that the Eagles are going to feel without Jason Kelsey, and how the Rams are going to feel without the presence of Aaron Donald on the field. So that's why I'm probably leaning more towards a B. But I'd like to know, what do you think? Do you think the 49ers did a good job of just bringing guys in to fill needs, fill depth? Do you think they're just completely off on the guys that they decided to grab? Or do you think they didn't do enough to try and push themselves to win a Super Bowl? To try to get themselves over that hump? Either way, just let me know what you think. As always, it's wonderful to have you here, and I would love to see you again when I talk about next. Thank you. Have a good day.